Hello everyone, welcome back to me in my little cozy car talking about music production while I commute to and from my day job. How are you today? You good? You sitting there and sulking for information and the knowledge that is contained in my little music production brain. Yeah. We'll see about that. I'm basically just gonna ramble a bit today about what I think is good and bad about different kinds of synthesis. You're familiar with synthesis, right? It's not the main part of music production across the board, synthesis in general, but for EDM production at least, and increasingly more for other kinds of production as well. Synthesis is really important. So there's a bunch of different types of synthesis types. I kind of googled ahead of this just a few seconds before I started my commute here about the different kinds of synthesis, just to see on which of the ones I'm up to speed with. So I'd like to go through some of them just real quick, and that would be, well, the vanilla subtractive synthesis, which we're all using in a bunch of our instruments, FM synthesis, wavetable synthesis, and additive synthesis as well. Okay, so that would end up being then starting off with the subtractive synthesis. I'm not gonna go through how they work in detail. I'm just gonna go and say that subtractive synthesis, you have a basic wave form which is being cut from by using filters and that kind of thing, to shape your sound. And it's a very common technique in most of the you can do a lot of different sounds with all of these different instruments, obviously, but how I use them is a subtractive synthesis is generally good for upfront sounds with some kind of a bit of a finesse to them, but still a bit of a plastic synth sound, right? So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're after that, then by all means it works good. Some examples would be Synth 1, which is a very, very commonly used third-party third-party subtractive synth. Okay, just as an example. FM synthesis. Okay, going into that realm as well. Then that is a very good kind of synthesis to use if you want to have very prominent kind of real world-esque sounds. If you're into that, if you like the timbre of a sound, then FM synthesis is for you. But it's a very complex thing to get your head around how it all works. It's usually pretty complex procedures to learn how to shape a sound in FM synthesis. Okay, so presets are good for those, right? Some examples are FM8 from Native Instruments, and the Thor synth, I believe as well, is using this in Reason. That's a quick thing about that. FM synthesis. Additive synthesis, let's go into that. Okay, it's a pretty new thing. It's basically a bunch of different waveforms added up into each other, as far as I see it, to create a live-esque sound, a real world similar sound. And it's a very interesting concept. and it creates very realistic sounds most of the time, as far as I've tried it out. And I gotta say, it's still pretty novel to me, but I really enjoy using these kinds of synth types. I mean, some examples for the additive synth would be Camel Audio Alchemy, which has been integrated into Logic, as I've already told you earlier on. It's a fantastic synth with a bunch of amazing presets and so much flexibility to the sound by very easily changing the shape of it. And there are a couple of examples of good synths for additive synthesis, but in some ways it's pretty limited as to the flexibility as well on how to work with the sound, since it's based on a bunch of wavetables and it's pretty heavy on the CPU, so that's good to know. If you have a bunch of different instances for an additive synth, it can definitely crash your computer pretty fast. But additive synthesis is a real recommendation if you like bells and that kind of thing, as well as with FM synthesis, by the way. And then you have the wavetable synths, which are as well pretty new in some cases. Some examples of these are Massive, Native Instruments again, Massive, which have set wavetables. It's basically a preset of how a wave can look, how a wave is produced, and then you use that set version to modulate the sound using different effects. So similar in some cases to subtractive synthesis, as far as I can see. But a really interesting one is Serum, which I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of, which is made by Xfer Sounds, Xfer. Yeah, and there you can enter your own wavetables into that synth and shape your sound accordingly. These are also pretty heavy on the CPU at times. And they create a bit of a plastic sound, again, similar to the subtractive synthesis. But it's a pretty mighty and thick sound that you get out of it. So it's very common in EDM production, in the heavier parts of it anyway. And it's used across the spectrum for all of these different synths. They're used no matter the genre. So it's irrelevant basically which genre you're in, but it's more about what kind of a sound you like, which determines which synths befit you and how much energy you're willing to spend on learning them. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed. I did anyway. I hope it gave you anything. I mean, I'm not a technical guy on these kinds of things, so I just basically go with what I know, and then I try to spread it out to you guys. But I gotta say, I really recommend looking into these different kinds of synthesis and finding the one that you think fits you and your kind of production. Maybe it's all of them, right? I use all of the different kinds of synths, but for different things. But explore them and try to find the ones that fit you. That's what I would do if I would be interested in that kind of thing. Stay classy and stay cool, and please share this if you like it. Like as well, and dislike if you don't, obviously. And comment if you have anything you'd like to bring up with me. I'll be sure to respond, I promise. Okay? Now stay classy, and see you in the next one.